At 03:22 a.m., 300 feet beneath the crushing pitch-black water of the Norwegian Sea, a Russian captain allowed a moment of grim, focused satisfaction. His $1.5 billion Yasen-M submarine was running in ultra-quiet mode, having successfully penetrated the outer defense ring of the USS Gerald R forward carrier strike group, a geopolitical dagger aimed directly at NATO's heart. But 200 miles away, an American P-8 Poseidon dropped a tiny lethal $100 to $500 sonobuoy right into his projected path. That tiny microphone instantly registered a faint, unmistakable frequency shift, the digital signature of Moscow's most valuable secret. In the USS Arleigh Burke's Combat Center, the realization exploded across the network. 3 Russian submarines had just crashed the party. The era of truly hiding in the deep is over, and the clock just started ticking on their 48 hours of pure agonizing and ultimately humiliating torment for Russians. This was no simple fleet drill. This was NATO's dynamic Mariner exercise in the Norwegian Sea, a massive multinational demonstration of force designed to practice the defense of the alliance's northern flank, specifically the critical GIUK gap, the choke point between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom that serves as the strategic gateway to the North Atlantic. The entire exercise was a strategic statement the GIUK gap would not be closed by Russian boats. The centerpiece was the USS Gerald R, America's $13 billion nuclear-powered supercarrier, operating its first combat-ready deployment in the demanding deep-water acoustic environment of the Arctic Circle, leading a strike group that included American, British, Norwegian, and Canadian escorts. For Moscow, the Ford's presence was an unacceptable challenge, a declaration that the Atlantic Ocean, historically their strategic sanctuary for launching nuclear ballistic missiles, was now fully contested and monitored. The stakes were existentially high. If Russia could successfully plant 3 advanced attack submarines, 2 Yasen-M class guided missile boats, and 1 older Akula class inside the carrier's defensive screen, it would shatter NATO's strategic confidence and turn a massive show of force into a geopolitical calamity. Russia's objective wasn't just to gather acoustic intelligence. It was to deny sea control to the world's most powerful alliance and send a geopolitical shockwave across all of Europe. They had bet billions that their newest boats were too quiet, too deep, and too fast to be caught. But what they were facing was an integrated multi-domain kill chain, a flawless symphony of American and allied technology, designed not just to hunt ghosts, but to publicly and digitally humiliate them. Do you truly believe a $1.5 billion Russian submarine can hide from a defense net painstakingly built over 75 years of relentless ASW mastery? Let us know in the comments below if you think the nuclear-powered silence of a Yasen-M can beat the digital precision of a fully networked Aegis system. Back to the developments of this confrontation, the enemy force was engineered for maximum strategic threat and stealth potential, comprised of 3 of the Russian Navy's most prized deep-diving assets, specifically tasked from the Northern Fleet to break the NATO formation and prove their strategic relevance. The 2 Yasen-M class boats were the absolute core threat. At 130 meters long, displacing a massive 13,800 tons, submerged and capable of a crush depth nearing 600 meters deep enough to render most torpedoes useless. These are Russia's cutting-edge nuclear attack submarines. Volkov's K-560 was a guided missile behemoth designed to be a carrier killer. Its primary offensive punch came from 32 vertical launch tubes packed with a deadly mix of caliber land attack cruise missiles capable of hitting targets 500 miles away, and the terrifying Onyx supersonic anti-ship missiles, which can scream toward a target at a crushing Mach 2.5. A single successful missile salvo from one of these ghosts would represent a national catastrophe for the United States. Their tactical strategy was a textbook example of outdated Cold War doctrine, utilized the deep-water thermal layers and the chaotic surface environment of the Norwegian basin to mask their approach, then used their massive MGK-600 Irtish Amphora spherical bow sonar array, a system designed to listen to a whisper across hundreds of miles to passively track the American fleet. Their commanders were operating under the profound delusion of acoustic superiority, believing their latest pump jet technology and careful navigation made them acoustically undetectable, a truly silent black hole in the ocean's expanse. They were banking on the American system being slow to correlate. But they utterly failed to account for a modern, seamless NATO network that instantly transformed the entire Norwegian Sea into one giant hostile and actively listening microphone array. They were about to pay for that fatal mistake in pure, unrecoverable intelligence gold. The counter-preparations from the Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group and its NATO companions were instantaneous, overwhelming, and executed with the chilling precision of a well-oiled machine. The first and most critical piece of the anti-submarine warfare puzzle was the U.S. Navy's aerial asset, the P-8A Poseidon, a modified Boeing 737 aircraft, the undisputed king of ASW patrol. The P-8, which can loiter for over 10 hours and cover a search area of 120,000 square miles in a single mission, didn't rely on luck. It relied on precision sonobuoys. The moment the faint Russian contact was flagged, Crude began dropping a carefully patterned, multi-layered grid of both die-far passive and die-cast active buoys, thousands of dollars worth of precision hydrophones blanketing the water like an invisible, inescapable net. Data from these buoys, including the exact time difference of arrival TDOA from the Russian hull noise, was instantly fused and relayed in a secure burst via the high-speed Link 16 network back to every single surface combatant, the USS Arleigh Burke DDG-51, the British frigate HMS Northumberland F-2D8, and the Norwegian frigate KNM Fridtjof Nansen F-310. The Arleigh Burke then became the primary hammer. Its immensely powerful AN/SQS-53C hull-mounted active sonar, capable of pushing a focused 20 kHz acoustic beam for miles, was cranked up to its full power short pulse mode. For the Russian crews, imagine standing next to a stadium speaker stack, firing directly into your ear. Every 7 seconds, the sound pressure level was designed to be not only detectable, but painfully psychologically overwhelming inside their tightly sealed pressure hulls. Simultaneously, two MH-60R Seahawk helicopters, the true Swiss Army knives of naval aviation, were airborne vectoring toward the projected targets at 160 knots. They lowered their AN/AQS-22 dipping sonars into the exact positions the P-8 projected the Russian boats would transit. This was the ultimate multi-domain system, air surface and subsurface assets, all working as one single, unstoppable organism with the Aegis combat system acting as the central nervous system, ensuring every asset shared the same perfect three-dimensional picture of the undersea chaos. Their collective mandate was clear: not to sink, but to acoustically and psychologically annihilate the Russian boats until they surrendered their secrets. The 48-hour hunt that followed wasn't a conventional battle. It was an acoustic, tactical, and profoundly psychological annihilation. T+4 hours from initial contact. Captain Volkov and his two companions knew they were hopelessly compromised. The moment the AN/SQS-53C on the Arleigh Burke began its relentless active pings, the sound didn't just register, it hammered and resonated throughout the Russian hulls, vibrating the floor plates and rattling the crew's nerves. For the crew of the K-560, their silent world of stealth was replaced by a continuous, overwhelming, nerve-shredding ping, ping, ping that echoed through their compartment walls. It was a calculated, non-lethal psychological attack, a constant reminder that NATO knew their depth, their vector, and their speed every second of the day. The Russian strategy of silently lying in wait was now completely useless. They were simply being dragged across the ocean bottom by an invisible rope. T+12 hours, the strain showed. The older Akula-class boat, designated as the secondary support, was hemorrhaging operational cohesion and maneuvering violently to avoid the persistent shadow of an MH-60R Seahawk, which had been circling over its head for over 2 hours, continuously dropping die-cast buoys. The Russian captain was forced to make a catastrophic tactical choice: either reduce speed to silence the hull and risk being boxed in, or accelerate to escape the immediate acoustic beacon. He chose to accelerate. That instantaneous spike in cavitation and propeller noise, a perfect definitive high-resolution acoustic signature, including the slight rhythmic wobble of an improperly maintained shaft, was instantly recorded by the Seahawk's sensor operator and transmitted in a secure burst via Link 16 directly to the Arleigh Burke's central computer. It was a digital fingerprint now on file forever, a massive intelligence failure. T+24 hours, the endgame was complete. The three Russian boats were no longer a cohesive threat, but three isolated, deafened targets being methodically driven into a suffocating kill zone box bounded by American, British, and Norwegian surface combatants. The American destroyer Arleigh Burke kept its powerful sonar fixed on the Yasen-M. The British Type 23 frigate covered the second boat, while a second Arleigh Burke focused on the older Akula. Yet the USS Gerald R, the object of the entire confrontation, never broke formation, never changed speed, and never altered its course. For the Ford's 5,000 sailors, the Russian threat simply did not exist. The noise was merely the loud, steady sound of their defenses working perfectly. The final crushing turning point came when the NATO vessels, having precisely geolocated the Russian boats, began deploying training depth charges, harmless in their purpose, but concussive and deafening in their intent, into the water a mere 500 meters from the Russian hulls. The acoustic shockwave, a deafening thunder, vibrated through the steel deck plates. The message was delivered with overwhelming, undeniable force. You are found. You are tracked. You are owned. Your mission is over. The hunt concluded not with a dramatic explosion, but with a defeated, muffled, and strategically costly surrender. After 48 hours of relentless acoustic harassment and psychological saturation, the three Russian submarine captains, critically low on battery power, low on morale, and subjected to a digital and sensory battering they hadn't trained for, were forced to break off their mission. One by one, their faint acoustic signatures faded as they increased depth and turned north, heading back toward the relative safety of the Kola Peninsula. They had failed completely to achieve their primary objective. The USS Gerald R was never threatened, suffered zero mission degradation, and continued its exercise as if the whole confrontation was merely a scheduled minor annoyance. The true cost for Russia, however, was not measured in fuel or in ammunition expended, but in the catastrophic, unquantifiable loss of intelligence gold. NATO's sophisticated network of P-8 Poseidons, MH-60R Seahawks, and powerful surface sonars had successfully collected the definitive acoustic signatures of three of Russia's newest and most potent attack submarines. Every single noise, from the precise harmonics of the K-560's pump jet at 10 knots to the specific frequency of the older Akula's auxiliary machinery and the barely audible whine of its reactor pump, was now permanently recorded, analyzed, and integrated into the global NATO threat database. The next time these vessels sailed, NATO wouldn't need active sonar. They would be instantly identified by their own distinct sound profile anywhere in the world, reducing their stealth to zero. It was the ultimate strategic humiliation. Russia's top-secret billion-dollar stealth technology had been completely unmasked and digitally archived by a perfectly coordinated multinational team that outthought and outsynchronized them. The atmosphere on the NATO ships was one of quiet discipline and total satisfaction. No victory celebration, just a return to the routine of a massive, well-oiled war machine. They had not fired a single shot in anger, yet they had achieved a decisive strategic victory that reminded the world of one simple, enduring truth. The U.S. Navy and its allies own the Atlantic from surface to seabed, and they hear everything. The confrontation in the Norwegian Sea serves as a potent, undeniable warning for every adversary who still believes they can hide their most valuable assets. In the modern battle space, especially in the cold, deep water of the North Atlantic stealth, is a measurable, finite variable, not an absolute cloak of invisibility. The Russian strategy was a catastrophic, outdated relic of the Cold War, relying solely on the technical superiority of a single, isolated platform and betting on NATO's lack of coordination. The NATO victory, conversely, was the complete triumph of networked, integrated warfare, where the momentary failure of one system, such as a localized sonar blind spot, is instantly compensated by the perfect fused data of a dozen others. The $1.5 billion investment in a quiet nuclear-powered submarine was rendered operationally obsolete in 48 hours by a perfectly synchronized multi-billion-dollar system that successfully utilized Wallam $500 disposable sonobuoys as its initial fuse. This is the kill chain at its most elegant, relentless, and unforgiving detection by a high-flying Poseidon tracking and classification by an MH-60R Seahawk dipping sonar persistent harassment by an Allied frigate, and the final crushing psychological blow delivered by a U.S. destroyer's sonar. This flawless multinational coordination is not just for defense, it is the ultimate tool of deterrence. The message is clear. Any future Russian escalation in the critical sea lanes will not be met by a single ship, but by an integrated, overwhelming wall of technological and tactical force that operates with a frighteningly low margin for error. Peace, freedom of navigation, and the security of global commerce only survive because the forces that defend them are prepared to turn their opponents' most treasured billion-dollar secrets into an open, globally shared digital book. Let us know in the comments. Do you think any nation, including China with its emerging fleet, can truly challenge this level of multi-domain synchronization and acoustic mastery in the undersea domain?